So I want to bring back Ericka, who probably has more to say about this than I do. And we can follow up a little bit on what the Constitution means and why it exists and why following away from it and having new laws made by man are more important than the laws provided by our Creator.
You know, I love that you spelled a lot of that stuff out, Jay, and reminded people that our rights do not come from government. That is the one thing, I just want to restate what you said. The United States was the first country founded on the idea that we have rights just for being born human beings, not because the government in its wisdom and grace granted them to us. And that's one of the things I think Lord Redic says all the time is, I don't care what the Constitution says. You didn't have to write down on a piece of paper that I have the right to defend myself. That is a natural human response. And so when you're talking about natural law, it's almost like that's what you're talking about, this idea that these are the rights that we have. This is the natural way that we behave as human beings in the world.
Right. Unalienable rights granted by our Creator.
Yeah, that means
specifically, and the Constitution is so important because it protects us from government.
Exactly.
And that's what it was intended for. It was not for government to rule over us. It was to protect us from government ruling over us, and that we are endowed by our Creator.
That's why I thought it was so funny. Ketanji Brown Jackson, during what case is that that's before the Supreme Court right now? That's the First Amendment question. And she was like, well, I just think that this is going to get in the way of the government being able to do what it wants. And I was like, yeah, that's literally the point. It's supposed to get in your way, KBJ, because you're clearly part of the problem.
She can probably has the Constitution memorized, but that doesn't mean she understands it. She doesn't understand how it was written, why it was written, who it was written for, and how it is a long-term bond to the American people that they will not be ruled by anyone but our Creator.
Well, I love that you just said it that way too, Jay, because there was an agreement. Now, I did not sign the agreement, and I was not privy to the agreement as it was originally written, but there was an agreement signed called the Declaration of Independence documents. Okay, you got the Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights, Constitution. That's the contract between the government and the governed. And now people like KBJ, AOC, how many other acronym names can we think of? They don't like our Constitution. They don't like our founding documents. They don't care that there was an agreement, right? And all of the laws of this country, all of the state constitutions and all of the things are based on this agreement that we made 250 years ago.
Yes.
And they also can't really articulate what they would replace it with if we got rid of it.
One of the things that goes back to that is the belief in a Creator. So we have to go back to that concept that if you do not believe in God, then you probably believe you are God with a small g. So what they're saying is that because I don't believe in the Creator, I don't believe that all men are created equal. And we can get into that a little bit about what equality is and what that meant, that all men are created equal. They believe that they can do anything that they want because they are on the same level as God. So they don't have to listen to a higher authority. They don't have to listen to our Creator. They are the Creator. And one of the big things that you talk about, you can talk about, is that there's this concept, and we're going to take a look at both Republicans and Democrats on this. And when sometimes people will say, I'm a self-made man. Well, the problem with self-made men is that they worship their Creator.
Oh, themselves.
They believe in themselves, in that they are little mini gods, in that they are a creator of everything around them. You know, you have to go back and, Barack Obama was taken to task for saying, you didn't build this. And the Democrats have this big thing and all of that. You didn't build it. Well, the reality is we built it with the help of our creator, that the guidelines and the path that we took came from our creator. So did I build anything on my own? Of course not. But that doesn't mean I owe government anything for anything that I've developed and I've built. Was there help along the way from individuals and community? Yes, but not the government. The government does not make things. It does not bring things about. So we need to make sure that we take a strong look at the fact that we build things, but we do it as humans under God's auspices.
You know, Jay, this might be off topic, so feel free to sway me back in another direction. But you said something that I think is really interesting that I don't hear people talk about much. We have heard, and I don't know that this comes from Christianity. I don't know if this is part of the new like woo woo spiritual crowd. Like, I'm spiritual, not religious, you know, whatever that is.
Where do you go? Where do you go to practice your spirituality?
Yeah, and who do you worship? Who are you asking for help? Who do you pray to? Right. Yeah. So there's a lot. You'll see. What is that? You know, this like new age, we're going to call it neo-Christianity, where like Jesus isn't a part of it. And people say, like, I've heard over the years that, oh, God lives within us, right? And even we talk about having the Holy Spirit dwelling within us. And so you'll have a lot of these spiritual people talking about themselves as if they are God, little g gods, right? So, oh, sorry about that, guys. My phone just started randomly playing. Where do you think this idea comes from of like, or how does the idea of having the Holy Spirit dwelling within us move to I'm God?
Right. Well,
do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, in the Bible, in the Bible, and in the writings of Christianity, there's a talk about there is Christ within each of us.
Right.
That each of us possesses a piece of God within us. Okay, but there is a separation between a piece of God within us and us being God. That God does not speak through us in a way that glorifies us. It speaks to us in an understanding that we need to care about our neighbors. We need to care about the things that are espoused in the 10 Commandments. And the first is, worship God. There's one God. And we need to love our neighbors. We love ourselves. So those are the basics behind it. We've got this whole new, and I think you've had some tremendous people on your show before to talk about wokeism as a religion. Dr. Bruce Abramson. And I know that both you and Robert talk about it a lot, and how they start worshiping different things. But it really comes down to they aren't worshiping anything different than themselves. So they believe that they are the supreme power and they are all knowing. And, we have to take a quick look at who they are and why they are lost. And one of the things, I speak a lot about the pro-life movement and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things is that the Democrats have to understand that, yes, you've won the law. You're going to win probably in Florida. That's coming up in November, where they put it on the ballot again, and they've done it in many states. That doesn't make it right. And what we need to do as a people is to limit the number of children that are killed by abortion. And it's not going to be about laws. It's not going to be about anything, but it's going to believe in the fundamental of thou shalt not kill. And it has to come back to a fundamental belief that life is valuable and that all life is precious. And so we go off into these wokeism things that make no sense, because what they're really trying to do is fill an emptiness that's inside them. And what they need to do is they need to dig deep and find that inner Christ that's within all of us and speak with that voice, rather than a convoluted voice that makes no sense at all.
Oh, speaking of making no sense at all, socialism, y'all. Socialism makes no sense at all unless you are uneducated about history.